Hello, I'm David Pike, and welcome to our introduction to our Family Organizer System. We want to deliver this system to you and walk you through it right now as to what you need to gather together in one place so that you and your family can have a well-organized estate. The beginning part of estate planning is, of course, to do legal documents, and we hope that you've allowed us to do that for you. If you did, we would have provided you a notebook similar to this to gather your information together. And having good legal documents all in one place where you and your family can find them is a start. All of this information is important and can be difficult to be compiled, especially in this day when we keep most of this information on cell phones or personal computers that are not accessible to our family. So how do you organize the system, what to put in, what not to put in, where to save this information, where to store this information? That is what we're going to be covering in the next few minutes. If you haven't delivered us your address so that you can have the physical copy of what I'm going to go through today, you can email us at info@dallasprobatelaw.com. Provide us your mailing address and we will mail this system to you free of charge. Now let's dive in. So here is our Family Organizer System. Begins with just a cover page, of course, but as you turn to the next page, you are given instructions to your executor and trustee for the purpose of this notebook, instructions to you about keeping it up to date, and where to keep this notebook. Let me talk about that for a second. You should keep this notebook in a helpful location for you. It should be available and readily accessible to you so you can keep it up to date. It needs to be secure, but not so secure that you can't get to it. The ideal place would be a locked cabinet at home, but that cabinet would be accessible to the people that are going to take over for you, your executors or agents. If you are not in a secure facility, such as you're in an independent living facility, you probably should keep this notebook off-site somewhere or in a locked cabinet or safe. So it is going to have some critical information, but you want to have it safe but nearby. We want you to personalize your notebook. Make it personal in that you can add pictures. If you're artistic, add drawings, add things that are important to you. You want your family to look through this notebook and not only think about you from a financial point of view, but from a personal point of view. So on the next page, we give you a place for a family message. I only leave a little place here for you to write something. You might want to write much more. What I would suggest is you consider several things in your family message. Maybe it has to do with the practicalities of estate planning. You want your family to work together. You want them to be cooperative. You want them to show what you have taught. But you may also take additional time to write personal messages to family members, things that you want them to know on your passing, and maybe the most cherished things to you that you want to say to them that they don't forget. So although we leave you just a few lines here, of course, you can add as many pages to this notebook as necessary. So personalize this notebook at all points in time. So let's now turn to a page for last will and testament. We are going to begin by talking about your legal documents. Now, you may have done your planning with a family living trust. If you used a revocable living trust, you also have a will, but your dispositive schemes are in the trust. Many of the things we're going to talk about for a will apply to a trust as well, but then we're going to talk about a few additional things about a trust. You always want to review your documents to make sure things like your executor and guardians and beneficiaries are correctly named. If you've changed your charitable ideas. When you review your documents, most people consider those. But the things that we find that people don't consider is, have things changed for their beneficiaries? Do their beneficiaries have major health issues? As we go to the next page of the notebook, we continue with questions about the beneficiaries. Have they changed into a risky profession? Have they had children? Do you have the blessing of grandchildren? Should you consider direct gifts to those grandchildren? On the negative side, have your beneficiaries been sued or do they have significant creditor issues? If you do not know if your will or living trust makes plans for these changes to your beneficiaries, you need us to review your estate planning documents. You need to also consider whether you've acquired property in a way that would change your estate plan. The most common things to happen are to acquire property out of state or to receive an inheritance, and especially oil and gas interest that can be expensive to transfer multiple times. So consider those issues. Now we turn to the revocable living trust. If you have a revocable living trust, and not all of you do, and we don't recommend that everybody have a trust, the biggest issue is the revocable trust does no good if it is not fully funded. What does that mean? Fully funded means all of your assets other than tax-deferred accounts, IRAs and 401ks, are in the living trust. If you can look at your car title and it's not in the trust, you don't have a fully funded trust. If you have real property that's not titled in the name of the trust, that needs to be deeded. You should always review your titles and your real property and your bank accounts and investment accounts to make sure they're in the name of the trust. As I said earlier, the only exception is IRAs and 401ks and other tax-deferred accounts. In those instances, we do not recommend transferring the accounts to the revocable living trust, but the beneficiary is more than likely the living trust. If we did your planning for you, we gave you specific instructions on your assets like life insurance and IRAs and 401ks, and as to who should be the beneficiary. You should follow those instructions. You should also ask, have you provided the beneficiary designations to your financial advisors, 401k administrators, and IRA administrators? So review your assets and make sure they're in the trust. And then all of the issues that we talked about with the will are the same as well. Turning to the second page of the revocable living trust section, we're also asking, have you considered that your successor trustees named in the trust are able to serve? That's always a question to ask with your legal documents. Have those you appointed still be able to serve? With a trust, you should review all of the items on the will checklist as well to make sure those apply to your trust. If you're not sure if your family trust is in good shape, if you're a family security plan member with Pike & Associates, remember you get a free half-hour consultation every year with one of our lawyers to review your documents to make sure changes are not necessary. Let's now turn to the medical documents section. The medical documents that you need, and I mean everybody should have these, are a medical power of attorney and an advance directive. The way we draft those, they're in one document. And we sometimes shortchange that and call it our medical power of attorney or our advance directive documents, but it's actually two different things in one document. What do you do with that document? Well, we suggest that you keep the original in your notebook, but you should give a copy to your primary care physician. If you're ever going to go into a facility to have a procedure where you're going to be put under, to be anesthetized, a word I have a very great difficulty saying, but if that's going to happen, you should also bring them a copy of your power of attorney. Sometimes when you go into medical facilities, they will give you a clipboard with a medical power of attorney document or an advance directive on it and say, you know, you can fill this out. If you've already done documents, you do not want to do them again. You do not want to have conflicting documents that could cause problems. So instead, you should provide them a copy of what we have drafted for you. You also want to gather for your family some key information. You should list your pharmacy, not only your primary care physician, but all physicians you see, your dentist, your optometrist, your ophthalmologist, any specialist you've seen in the last 10 years. The easiest way to do this is pick up their business card and staple it to a piece of paper and put it in this notebook. Don't let neatness be the burden of not getting this organized. Organization is not necessarily neat. You also want to provide medical and supplemental medical information on this form, and we provide blanks for you to do that. Now let's turn to your financial power of attorney. Again, everyone should have a financial power of attorney, and you should be asking the same question for this document. Are the people you have been appointed to serve able to serve? Are they ready to serve? If that hasn't changed, your financial power of attorney is probably good unless it is more than 5 years old. We recommend that all financial powers of attorney be re-executed, even if there are no changes, every 5 years, because a fresher power of attorney is easier to enforce. You not only want to have a financial power of attorney, you want to allow your agent to have information so they know who to contact. The first people on this list should be your primary financial advisors and your CPA or tax advisor. If you use a service like Schwab that has a 1-800 number, I highly recommend that you build a relationship either with that company or another one where you have a direct contact person and that you can introduce your agent to that person, which will make a handoff easier when the time comes. Trying to introduce yourself as an agent through a 1-800 number takes a great deal of time and effort and is often not successful. So the more personal you have a relationship with a financial advisor, the easier the transition will be. Turning to the second page of this section, we have a place for you to list your bank information. Now, you don't want to list all of your information here, and I don't necessarily suggest attaching bank statements that have full account numbers, but you want truncated or the last 4 digits of the account numbers listed. What's the purpose of this? Sometimes it's very difficult to find assets. Does your agent know to look every place to find your financial accounts? Don't make it a hunt and seek mission. Give them the peace of mind to know, here are my accounts. These are all of my accounts. You don't need to look any further. So that's the point of listing this information. In the next section of the organizer, we provide pages for you to fill out information concerning life insurance, disability insurance, and long-term care insurance. For each policy, you need to list the company and the policy number. Now, if you're like me, when I started doing business with my insurance agent when I was in my 20s, he gave me a nice portfolio to store my insurance policies. I would suggest you take that portfolio and your policies and put them right together with this family organizer system, because finding the original policies is important and will make processing claims so much easier. There is no central data bank to go to if you're an executor of an estate to look for life insurance policies. If you're not listing that information or making it easy to find, it may not be possible for your agent or executor to find your policies. So we want to do that with life insurance policies, with disability insurance in case you're incapacitated, so that they know how and when to make a claim, and long-term care insurance in case you need to be in an independent or assisted living facility. We highly recommend this long-term care insurance. It can be expensive, but so can long-term care. If you don't have long-term care insurance, you may want to consider elder law planning, which is also something our law firm does. Now, we also want to gather some personal information that is related to your financial life. The most important thing is, if you have a safety deposit box, tell your agent by filling in this information where to find it. Now, I also add in here, where are your important passwords? Are they in your safety deposit box? I highly recommend that people use a password organizer on their computer to both to keep track of all the multiple logins that we use. In case of your death or disability, it will probably aid your agent or executor to a great degree to have this login information. But do you want them to have it now? Probably not. So is also very difficult to keep up with passwords if you're writing them down in a notebook, which is not safe unless it's stored somewhere like a safety deposit box. So here's my solution. I use a password manager that requires one password. I also have a password to log into my computer. I write those down, I put them in an envelope, and they are in my safety deposit box. In my personal organizer, I tell my agent and my executor where to find my safety deposit box. Therefore, they can get all of my information when the time comes. And as I change individual passwords for banks or for IRS logins or anything else, I don't have to run to the safety deposit box because my password manager login has not changed. So that makes something complex very simple. Also difficult to deal with is transferring vehicles without the original car titles. I would encourage you to actually put the car titles in this notebook, or write down right here where are the location of your car titles. Also, if there's a treasure to be found out there in your assets, draw a treasure map. If you have assets stored in other locations, you've left paintings with at somebody's house, you have jewelry stored in a particular location, you've hid your silver somewhere in the house, write down those locations and give that treasure map. Have you considered that you have storage locations, storage units, but do your agents know where to find them? So on our second page of personal information, we first begin with trying to prompt you to leave instructions for your guardians for minors. If you have minor children and you've appointed a guardian in your will to take care of them, you should write a very personal letter to that guardian telling them about your child. What is most important to that child? What should not be changed? What school do they want to go to? What programs is it important that they continue to belong to? If the child needs to be physically relocated because of your passing, how do they maintain continuity? Pour your heart out in this information. We're talking about your children. Give as much information as you can. Obviously, in this organizer, I put just a few lines. I'm anticipating that you will write several pages of information. How about pet care instructions? We don't usually put instructions for care of pet in estate planning documents per se for a lot of different reasons. And usually it is handled by a personal request. You have an agreement or understanding with a friend to usually mutually take care of their pets in case of either's passing. Leave this information in the notebook that you have this agreement. And if you want to advise your executor to make a gift to a particular organization or a person to take care of that pet, that may need to be in your estate planning documents, but you can also provide instructions in this part of your family security notebook. Finally, we leave information about memorial instructions. If you made pre-arrangements, you need to give a roadmap to find those pre-arrangements. What company, where's the contract or insurance policy that will pay for that? If you have particular desires about your disposition, your interment, or your funeral services, you need to write them out in particular and at length. There's not enough space here for most people to do that. Take an additional sheet of paper and include what is important to you, including who you might want to eulogize yourself at your funeral. If you're a veteran and you have the valuable right to be buried at a veteran cemetery, you want to leave your military information so that they know that you can qualify for that benefit. So that's a quick walk through our family organizer system. As you put this system in place, you will find that you have less stress because you know you have prepared for your family. And your family, when the time comes, will be under much less stress because they will have a well-organized system to follow, and they will thank you for that. That is our goal at Pike & Associates, to take the fear and anxiety out of the estate planning and probate process, not only in the legalities, but in the practicalities, so that you can have not only good estate planning documents, but a successful estate. If within a week of today you have not received your family organizer in the mail, please call or email us at 214-866-0133 or info@dallasprobatelaw.com. Take care and have a good day.